Hi, welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my July wrap up. So July was an awesome month. I read 8 books, which is pretty good for me, especially because the last few months I've only been reading about 3 or 4. So to read 8 books is just amazing, and I really hope August is as good as July was. But because I've read so much, let's get straight on into it and I'll give you a little rundown of what I read. The first book in July was a book that I put on many a TBR and I finally read it, and that is I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. So I read this, I loved it, I have no idea why I've been putting off this book. Basically this book follows 2 twins and you see them at different times in their life. You follow Noah when he is about 13, 14 and he's discovering his sexuality, and then you follow Jude when she's 16, she's in art college, and it's after a major tragedy has happened to the family. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to spoil it, but basically you see how these twins that are quite close, they grow up, stuff happens and they kind of come apart, and it's all about those twins kind of discovering themselves, working out what happened after this tragedy and trying to bring their lives back together. Overall this was a really good book. I liked how everything wrapped up at the end. I loved the twins and I loved all the other characters. It deals with some really good issues. So Noah, he's discovering sexuality and he ends up liking a guy. The young girl, I wouldn't say she gets assaulted, well she kind of does, she gets assaulted when she's younger, and so it deals with some serious issues. It's just a lovely book to read, and like I said, I have no idea why I put it off so much, but if you do see this book I would recommend that you pick it up because it is so good. The next book I read was World Mythology in Bite-Sized Chunks by Mark Daniel. So this was just a little book that came in one of my Fairy boxes a few months ago, and it's basically what it says, it's world mythology in bite-sized chunks. It goes through quite a lot. I found this really interesting because I am a history geek. I did history at university and I wanted to read some more non-fiction. This is really good. I didn't have any problems with it. It's basically just bite-sized chunks. But one thing I didn't realise is that a lot of mythology comes from sex. The amount of sex that is in this book, and weird like vaginas cutting gods in half and gods masturbating and creating other gods. I just read it thinking, okay then. But I would recommend it if you do like your mythology and if you want a quick like breakdown of everything. Then I read a new release which was Lost Boy by Christina Henry. I was looking forward to this book because I read Christina Henry's Alice retellings, and I've always wanted to read a Peter Pan retelling because I haven't actually read any. This follows James, who is Peter Pan's original Lost Boy, and he grows up to be Captain Hook. And it's all about how is Captain Hook actually the good guy and is Peter Pan the villain, and I think that was really interesting. Basically it all starts when Peter Pan brings back a young boy named Charlie, and he's a bit too young. I think he's about maybe 4 or 5, and he kind of latches on to James, which makes Peter very jealous because Peter wants James to be with him all the time. And James is basically like a father figure to all these boys. He looks after them, he actually cares about them. Unlike Peter, who when he gets fed up with a boy, he will just either kill him off somewhere or he'll put them in a situation where the boy will be killed. So James is kind of getting fed up with it. You see the other boys kind of losing faith in Peter, and it all results in James basically growing up and becoming Captain Hook. If you do like your Peter Pan retellings, I would definitely give this a go, and if you just want retellings in general, give this a go. And also this is quite gory, some bits of it, so if you do like gory stuff, again, give this a go. Then I read another new release, and that's All That She Can See by Carrie Hope Fletcher. So this is Carrie Hope Fletcher's second novel. She released On the Other Side last year, and I can say that All That She Can See is a definite improvement to that book. Basically this follows Cherry, who has the power to see people's bad feelings, so they kind of look like shadows behind people. So she can see worry, she can see impatience, she can see sadness, and she has the power to put all her good feelings into cakes. So she travels around Britain making up little bakeries, and she basically gives out good feelings until that city is okay, and then she moves on to the next one. Then she comes to one city where she meets a guy called Chase, who he has the power to see everyone's good feelings. That makes Chase quite bitter because he's like, why can't I feel like that, why can't I do this? And he realises what Cherry is doing. So he creates a bit of mischief by putting all his bad feelings into some alcohol, and then everything kind of blows up. They end up getting sent to this kind of prison kind of thing, and it all results from there. It is really good. It takes unexpected turns, which I, as you can guess, didn't expect, but I was like your magical realism, if you like baking, I would say give this a go. Then I read Because You Love to Hate Me, and this is basically some short stories around villains, and it's got some commentary by other booktubers as well. Now, I thought this would be interesting because I love my villains, and some of these stories were interesting, some of them didn't really get me going, if you could say that. Basically my favourite one was by V.E. Schwab, and that was about death, which as you can probably guess V.E. Schwab did brilliantly. Then there's one that Samantha Shannon did about a woman in a forest who steals all the women. The men come and kind of rescue them. Are the men actually the villains? Which was really interesting. And then there was one about Medusa that I can't remember who did that. Let me just check. Right, I can't remember which one it is about Medusa. I've solely forgotten the title and the author. But the Medusa one is probably my overall favourite because it comes from how Medusa, she was seduced by a king and the king basically kind of raped her. But then the goddess of purity came and she's like, you were raped, it is your fault, I'm going to make you into something ugly. So she creates Medusa. And it's all about whether the victim gets punished and all of that, which I think was really, really good, and she did it in such a brilliant way as well. Overall, this was alright. Some of the stories were okay, others I didn't really care for. Next one I read was June's Fairy book choice, and that was Raw by Cora Carmack. So this ended up being really good. This follows a kingdom that has kind of got lots of storms that batter it, but the royal family have powers to stop the storms, except Aurora, or Raw, she is the heir to the throne and she doesn't have this power. But she finds out that there are some people who can get powers without actually having the powers, if you get me. They're called storm hunters. So she goes away with these storm hunters to try and catch a storm heart and get the power so she can rule her kingdom. And then you've also got her betrothed, who she finds out just wants to use her so he can be king. And it's all really good. I'm just explaining it really badly. But if you do like your elementalist kind of fiction, I would say definitely give this a go. And it ends on such a good ending as well. I just can't wait for the sequel, which probably won't be out for another year. So I'm just going to sit here and patiently wait for the next book. Then I read a book that's been on my TBR for quite a while. I bought this book at Waterstones in January with all my Waterstones vouchers that I got for Christmas, and I still haven't read this book, but I read it anyway, and it's Before the Fall by Noah Hawley. Now, this follows a plane crash. It was a private plane and it basically crashed in the ocean. And Scott, I believe that's his name, yeah, Scott finds a child in the wreckage, and with that child he swims to the shore, and it basically all follows on from that. So you've got people saying, who's this Scott? Why did he suddenly survive? Why was he even on the plane? Because he's no one famous. And then it goes into the backstory of the famous people on that plane, and it's all about corruption, stuff like that. The ending was a bit disappointing. I expected something a lot better, but it is something that you don't really expect, but at the same time I kind of guessed who it was, I just didn't guess why he did it. But yeah, it's okay if you like your thrillers, but it is a tiny bit predictable. It also I wasn't that hooked. Sometimes I was hooked, other times I wasn't. So it's kind of one of those that's like a bit iffy. And then the last book I read is another book that I got at Christmas, and I've only just read it, and that's All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. Now, I haven't read this, well, I've only just read this because I didn't really know what it was about, but I picked it up and it wasn't what I expected. Basically, this follows a young girl called Wavy. You see her when she's about 5-6 years old, and basically her parents are drug addicts. And she meets this man called Kellen, who's basically one of her father's cronies, and she takes a liking to him. He looks after her, he takes her to school, he feeds her, he makes sure her and her brother are okay. But then it starts getting a bit weird. She is obviously quite naive and she loves him, whereas he loves her as well. And it all gets to that bit about, it ends up when she's 13 and they see them kind of doing stuff. So obviously Kellen gets arrested, but Wave is still in love with him. So it's that whole kind of thing. It really makes you think about whether it is right or wrong. So yeah, it really makes you think, and I am still thinking about it as well. But the characters in this are so good. I love Wavy and I love Kellen. And there's also some characters in here that I just hated so much. But I like how it's told from different point of views. And yeah, I would just say give this a go because it's kind of hard to explain. But please just read this because it is such a good book, and it's quite thin as well. I read this in just 2 days, it was that good. So yeah, that's my wrap up, which is probably the longest wrap up I've ever had. I'm actually so proud. If I don't read 8 books in August, I'm going to be so upset. I know I can do it, so there's no reason as to why I can't do it again. So anyway, this seems like it's going to be quite a long video, so I better shut up now. What did you read in July? Did you have a good month like me, or wasn't it that good? As usual, you can like this video, subscribe to this channel, and I will leave all my social media links down below. So I will see you later with a new video. Bye!